A 10 hut and a winning Wednesday to you all. The final Wednesday of February. Crazy to think that March Madness is just around the corner. Nick Hines, Joe Moran. We are back on My Racehorse Live. And as you can see, the lovely Hannah has put the hashtag MRH Live. So if you're out there in a social stratosphere, feel free to tag us. We're here to kind of discuss all things My Racehorse. Joe, good evening, sir.
It's good evening. I'm happy we're fully back in action. We got the cobwebs out 2 weeks ago, and like you said, I can't believe the 2-year-old and training sales are just about here. And on top of that, uh, we get to watch some March Madness while we're at it, which makes it a little better.
Yeah, and on top of that, we're just 66 days away from the first Saturday in May, 65 for the first Friday, Lilies for the Phillies, of course, the greatest 2 minutes in sports, the Kentucky Derby, in the Kentucky Derby being the Run for the Roses. Who could ask for more? And this week, we've got Derby preps galore. I mean, not only here stateside, contingent upon the weather out in New York. For those that are tuned in, we're hoping that you're staying safe. Just some
Yeah.
crazy weather that we've had throughout the year. But you've got the Gotham, of course, the Fountain of Youth, and then Sunday, a great way to tag the week with the Rebel. And then across the pond, you've got the European Road to the Kentucky Derby at Kempton Park. And if you're a FanDuel account holder, FanDuel Racing, you can access those past performances there and play along with us. So, again, Joe, you mentioned the 2-year-old training sales at the Ocala Breeders' Grounds. You were there a few weeks back for the showcase, and indeed the turnout was magnificent. And just to kind of preface where we go from here, today's show is February 25th. Unless we decide we're going to do a show from there, which potentially we could, no guarantees. It'll likely be the week after. So right around that third week of March, we'll be back with you here on MRH Live. I also want to mention that if you've got questions, I'm certain that most of you have already sent them in. But for future shows, feel free to email in and tell us and give us some ideas. I mean, I think our goal eventually is to maybe bring some guests online, not only perhaps a trainer or a jockey, or indeed bring a few of you on, our partners in My Racehorse.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the best part, right? And hopefully we can tide around some races, maybe have some trainers come on and chat just about, or maybe just a casual check-in with the horses. So I think we got endless possibilities with this.
All right. Well, hey, let's talk about the showcase. Again, I believe it was last year. It was kind of a leap year for you, being
Yeah.
in Saudi with the Riyadh Sprint and Straight No Chaser, and obviously you were back in action there in Ocala. A big thank you to all of those in your support in putting it together, our entire team. Of course, Kieran Dunn, who's gone above and beyond, and Caitlin. She's eternity just around the corner for her. So this is a recap that we're looking at, and I enjoyed seeing all the sights and sounds and those partners and owners that are so heavily involved.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, like you said, skipping last year kind of felt like it had been a while since I had been there. 700 people over 2 days. We got lucky that the weather held off for us on Sunday, so we had good weather both days. Got to see all the horses train, spend time with them back at the barn, and it was great. And there were so many new faces for me, which I love. And you're getting to see new people getting in action, and a lot of people getting their first couple horses, or this is
Right.
their first group of 2-year-olds of joining My Racehorse. So we appreciate you. Uh, and I think we got an exciting group. I'll kind of touch on my opinions of some of them, but kind of just starting off with the fillies, we had Cersei from Kenny McPeak's barn, Elevated, the Flightline filly, Burn Rate, the Uncle No filly. Uh, Everyone looked good. I'm going to start with Burn Rate. She was kind of, I said it for those that were there, she was kind of the most improved player, and I think that did not come by any surprise. She was immature when we bought her as a yearling. Now she's really starting to blossom. She grew a ton, so she's a bit in an awkward phase. But she made all the right changes for me to get excited about her. So that was great. Elevated, the Flightline filly. She was one that obviously was our most expensive yearling purchase last year. So hard to not be excited about her. She's handling everything well. Cersei as well, the Good Magic filly, looks like one that will be able to get at it hopefully early. She's very athletic build, not too big. So I think she's going to be one that will hopefully figure things out soon. Then some exciting colts. We had what I'll say is a very exciting group of 4 colts that were on the grounds. Puka, he was obviously a hit of the show. We had a lot of
Popular,
people.
right?
Yeah, he was a popular one, and he was quite. He thinks he's the man. He's not afraid to bite if someone comes by. So we had to do our photo booth a little out of biter's distance for him, but look great. Everything you want to see from him. At this stage of the game, he just kind of had his first breeze with Ian Brennan right before the showcase, so he's moving along nicely. Divine Mercy, the Jack Christopher colt, I thought looked tremendous. I'm kind of getting more and more excited about Jack Christopher. We kind of talked about it.
Yeah.
I felt like Jack Christopher was super popular early on, and then I felt like he went through a little bit of a lull phase that the hype kind of disappeared. From the 2-year-olds that I've seen and going to a few other farms down in Ocala, they sure looked the part. So excited about him. He's one that I think could be early as well. Bold type. He's a picture perfect. I think he's a horse that, he looked the part. We spend the money for him at Keeneland. He's a horse that didn't come in with a big pedigree, and we were buying the physical, and he sure looks the part still now. So super excited about him. Lastly, Warranted. He was our priciest purchase at Keeneland. I think when we bought him, we knew he wasn't going to be an early 2-year-old by any means. He's hit a nice growth spurt. He's your classic looking type horse. That's what we bought him to kind of fill that role. His half sibling, Winston Avenue, I believe, is entered on Sunday at Santa Anita. A horse that we were high on, ran great on debut. We ran against him with commission, start number 2. He did not
Right.
fire, but think he's going to come back with a big effort. So still a live family there. So that was kind of the group there. I was very pleased. I couldn't ask for anything more from the group as a whole. And then just wanted to touch on 3 others that weren't there. There were 3 remaining of our 10. Paddock Buzz, who's at Highlander, just went back into training last week, handling everything well. Hopefully we'll see her at Santa Anita come April. Doctorate, he's been back training now for just about a month after his break. Had his first work last week. I mean, he looks the part from what I can see in video. I saw him a handful of times down at Highlander, stopping in there prior to his break, but I haven't seen him since his break. But he sure looks like he's grown up quite a bit, and that's what that break does for horses. And then lastly, Start the Party. He wasn't able to make it to the showcase. We had one little more setback with him, so hopefully that turns out to be nothing major. But I know Wesley is very high on that colt, so I think it's an exciting group. Now we got the 2-year-old sales season coming up, and hopefully we can double that list and have a group of 22-year-olds.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, clearly a numbers game. We often talk about that.
Yeah.
I think it's, again, the quality is certainly there for the group that we have. Once again, for these showcases, I mean, it's something that if you're not able to make it, it's unfortunate. But if you can kind of poke out your calendar in February, generally we try and do it February each year, then certainly, make note that you want to be in Ocala in February. I mean, not to mention that, as you pointed out, we buy these yearlings beginning in Saratoga as select yearlings, and then essentially we move forward to September and then October. But this is kind of that midway checkpoint, essentially looking at, these horses and trying to determine, okay, are these going to be earlier types or are they going to be later types? And, how do we proceed from here? But, truth be told, I think our program is predicated on being patient, right? We're not here to kind of push the envelope too much. Clearly we have trainers, and we had this discussion on the last show, that are a bit more, I think, a bit more proactive in trying to run early, and Wesley Ward to be at the top of that list. So Nikki Wallace, I saw your message there. Thanks for tuning in. Bold Type Gun Show. I love that. In regards to the process from here, obviously we've had an opportunity to kind of look at each 2-year-old. Is it, now that they've had a little bit of a break, is it push forward, or is it still kind of, we're getting our sea legs, or are we doing speed work with these young horses?
Yeah. Everyone from the group of Kieran's about to start kind of the real pressure, I will say. Typically, and I kind of explained it for those at the showcase, we use kind of these 2-year-old sale OBS March, OBS April as additional check-ins for us, right? We have a lot of trainers that head down as well to come and inspect these crops while they're at the farms and kind of make group decisions. But usually right after each of these sales, we start seeing horses ship in. So in a perfect world, by the time the April 2-year-old sale is over, hopefully the majority of our group is ready to kick on. Some might say, hey, we got to pump the brakes a little bit. But based off what I saw down there, I think the majority of them, if I had to pick two that I thought would maybe benefit from a little bit more time, that would be Burn Rate and Warranted. But also if they handle their breeze work, like I said, I think Warranted in particular with more training, he's just going to start shaping up more and more and look the part. So no concern by any means. It'll just be a matter of Kieran and trainers when they want them.
I think the other point that we've made is that, sometimes with colts in particular, they tend to go through the motions more than fillies. And that's one thing where, as a former trainer, you kind of grow into the idea that, hey, it's not a bad thing for fillies to run against the boys when they're 2 years of age. They oftentimes beat the boys. It isn't until kind of like the latter end or later into the 2-year-old season, after let's say, perhaps July, August, where they kind of catch up. But fillies generally tend to be a bit more precocious just by way of how their mind works. Now, again, we're kind of talking about apples to oranges here as well. I mean, clearly a horse like Zenyatta wasn't designed to start until later in her career. If she had started as a 2-year-old, then chances are we would have never seen her as a 4-year-old, 3-year-old, much less a 4-year-old. So
absolutely.
Great news on Puka. I was glad to hear that. I know that I would have to say that of all the horses that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but would Puka be the most anticipated horse that we currently own? Would you say that?
I mean, I hate to say it, but I think he's got to be one of the most look forward to type horses in racing, right? I mean, that pedigree to have 3 Grade 1 winning classic males from that family is, I mean, unheard of. I mean, it makes me think of Beholder, Mendelssohn, Into Mischief, and how great that mare was. But I mean, to have 3 classic colts is pretty incredible.
Yeah, we also go back to Better Than Honor. That was certainly the one taking it back a few years. As far as unfortunate news with John Sheriff's left us so quickly, and it just goes to kind of put life into perspective that in the blink of an eye it could all change. And Baeza is now being conditioned by Hall of Fame trainer Bill Mott. So let's talk about that dynamic, Joe. You've got 2 horses like a Sovereignty and a Baeza in the barn. Again, this is a rhetorical, theoretical question in a sense that how do you separate these 2 horses? I mean, clearly the idea, knowing they're both in their 4-year-old year, likely going to be their final year of racing, how do you keep them separated with keeping the owners happy at the same time?
I don't know. That's going to be a heck of a job. I mean, obviously, we said elevated to Bill Mott for a reason, and he's a tremendous horseman, and I think he absolutely fits the horse. But it's a great question. I don't know how you can possibly map out a campaign where they're not going to have to go head to head against each other. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least, I mean, and yeah, it's great. I mean, I think for racing, we want to see them go head to head with each other. So, it's, I tip my cap that they kind of ignored that, and maybe CRK, they've been in the game a long time and have been supporters of the thoroughbred industry pretty as long as I can remember, and I'm sure as long as you can remember as well. And Mr. Sterling does a great job. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a great thing that for racing to see them face off against each other from the same barn. It's a little unheard of, but it's going to be exciting nonetheless.
Yeah, and we're obviously rooting for Baez. I mean, the more of the resume, the better for his younger brother. The naming contest, are they in the Final Four yet, or are we going to wait until March?
I know there's a little delay. I think Mr. Stewart was on the road, so hopefully that's getting finalized here shortly.
Yeah, naming's a big deal, and obviously he
needs a good one. He needs a good one too.
Absolutely. Real quick, Melissa, thank you. Yes, elevated. So excited for her, John. Big thank you for tuning in as well. David Corman mentions here that do you think we'll see any of the 2-year-olds this summer at Saratoga? What are the odds of at least seeing 1 or 2, Joe?
I mean, I would I would
Race,
have
not just in a stall.
I would have to think Elevated, Puka, and Doctorate are three logicals to be based at Saratoga at that time.
Right.
I wish I had the crystal ball. I don't, to say which ones are going to be able to handle all the tough parts of training, right? Like, as much as I hate to say all these beginning stages are tough and it's a new change for a horse, the real pressure is about to come, right? So the hard part is we haven't seen yet. So if I had a crystal ball, I'm hoping Doctorate. I think Elevated's that type. If Puka needed a little more time and was more of a fall horse, that wouldn't shock me. But those would kind of be the group that I would expect that could possibly be running. Cersei as well for Kenny McPeak. He'll have a string there. But those are kind of the ones that I would think. And I guess start the party, right? Wesley Ward. Wouldn't shock me if he's running at Keeneland if he's able to kick on with training. But I think all those are possibilities. Whether it happens or not, we just got to see how everything goes.
All right. Wanted to back the questions up just a little bit there. Hannah, if you could, and Tricia, big thank you for the kind words, and try and give you as much information as we can and from what we know. But we got another question that came up here regarding, it was just a previous question. We go back one? Oh, there it is. Okay. I guess it wasn't a question. Divine Mercy, Warren Rudman. Yeah, definitely, put that on your calendar for next year, that the showcase there at OBS. One thing is for sure, between March, April, and June, we get pretty used to that place. Now, I have not been to the showcase. Unfortunately for myself, I would have loved to have been there this year, just kind of getting over knee surgery. But next year, I had made it a point to be there. And also a big thank you to Matthew O'Connor, our racing manager out there in the Midwest, for the work he goes in and certainly does a good job at that.
He was on Puka duty, so he deserves
he was.
Pat on the back.
Puka's a bear, right? He's a bear. Love that. All right, Warren, thank you for that. Appreciate the kind words. And, that's the wonderful thing about these young horses is seeing that developmental aspect of it. And that's the other point of these shows. We'll try and provide as much content for you going forward. Sometimes we have limitations as to, the quality of the content we have. It won't reflect poorly it won't reflect well based on what you see, because the quality is not quite up to snuff. So if you have any thoughts or whatnot, opinions on, what you'd like to see, feel free to let us know. Joe, on the 2-year-olds, as far as Paddock Buzz, she is currently at Highlander, and she is slated to come west for Dan Blacker. Similar timeline as the others?
Yeah, I would say, we probably won't do much speed work at the farm. She did some speed work prior to her break. So since Dan doesn't have a second string, we just wanted to give her some time getting back into a normal gallop routine. I've kind of said April 1st, but I think it'll probably kind of even out with those vans from Florida to pick her up on the way to California.
But based on pedigree, she could be precocious enough, right? I mean, are we thinking likely Del Mar for her?
I would hope so. She seems, Graysons have a tendency to maybe get better as they get older, but they can certainly win at 2. And she seems to have that athletic appeal. She's had some siblings hit the track early and win early. So that's the goal.
All right. Buick's at 76. So which 2-year-old in your perfect world of imperfection, Joe, would you expect to race first if everything went absolutely as planned?
Oh, it's a tough one. Right now, I would probably have to say Doctorate, which maybe might surprise you a little bit, but just based off what we've seen. Yeah. He just seems like he's getting it in the Amos program. They've had a lot of success at a Highlander, getting horses a good foundation, going right into the track and having success early. Start the party's naturally one that, Wesley, this is what he's best at. And then maybe one of the 2 Bafferets. I'd probably say Divine Mercy over Bold Play. I think Divine Mercy has a shot to strike early summer.
All right. Shirley, thank you for those kind words. Donna as well. As far as, there was a good question that came up here from Melissa regarding the owner experience. as far as describing the details, we're going to continue to update you on horses, but we obviously want to kind of keep you informed on the goings on as well. So, as a first-time owner, first race, how's the experience for that when it comes to MyRacehorse?
So you typically on a debut, we try to do something bigger. We try to run an event of some sort at that time. We always try to provide lotteries and things to do every time your horse runs, but especially debuts, stake races, we try to do a little bit more if we have multiple horses. So on this, for example, Money Problem running on Friday, I believe we're doing tables at the 10 Palms, which is the restaurant at Gulfstream. We'll have a rep down there as well, kind of hosting everyone. Everyone, we'll try to get as many people as we can in the paddock. We do have to do a lottery due to the number of owners that we have when it comes to Winner's Circle. We do our best to push the limits to get everyone in that we can. But that's what it is. We try to give you what the race experience is all about. Not only enjoy our race, but every race. That's what it's all about. We can't win every time, but to come out, enjoy the track, see what it's all about, and see your horse up close as well.
Yeah, I've kind of hated this phrase, but hope for the best, expect the worst. It's not my mentality because I'm like you, Joe. We're winners, and I mean we go with the intention to try to win every race. But we know when it comes to racehorses, I mean even the best didn't win their first race, and Secretariat could attest to that. Yeah, absolutely, Melissa, and welcome aboard. I don't know if this is your first experience as a horse owner, but undoubtedly the best, and it only gets better from there. And of course, Anna James, she could also attest to that. Speaking of Money Problem, not to get too ahead of ourselves here, Joe, and we'll get to that in a moment, but confirmed to be in on Friday, Gulfstream Park Race 5. And I know that you and Brian DiDonato had done a race analysis. What are your thoughts on his debut?
I think the reports have been all very positive. What we've seen work-wise in video, rider feedback. We've had 2 riders on him. Everyone's loved him. I think from the get-go, as we kind of talked about during our race preview, everyone that's really handled this horse has thought he's had the talent. Right now, I think it's a challenge running a mile first time out, running on the turf first time out. There's new things that are going to come for him that present challenges. So, I thought I did a good job of setting expectations very real, right? I don't think we can go in there and expect to win. That's why he's 8-1 on the morning line. But the more and more I look at the form, it doesn't shock me that if a first-time starter wins this race, I think it can absolutely happen, and I don't see why it can't be us. And like I said, to be in the starting gate, knock on wood, February 27th, given his journey, I think that's a huge success in its own right. I think we just need to use this race for a good experience for him, and I think the future's bright for him. I really, really do.
All right, Sammy Fertitta, he wanted to know if he could mortgage the house on that one, but I would never advise mortgaging anything.
No,
I once, and I know a friend of mine that he's a bridge jumper, meaning that he'll plunge to show, and he bets those races up in West Virginia, and he took a bridge jump on. And you can look up what a bridge jumper is, but what people do is they'll wager an exorbitant amount of money trying to get 5% on their investment and wager on horses that in theory shouldn't finish off the board. And it was the year that Shared Belief pulled up in the Charlestown Classic, and Mike Smith had pulled him up. Thankfully, he did. He saved his life, but that particular individual lost a boatload of money. So
I remember Arrogate in the Pacific Classic as well in the four horse field, if I'm not mistaken.
Was that the Classic or the San Diego Handicap? I think it was San Diego Handicap.
Yeah, maybe it was his first race back from Dubai.
San Diego Handicap.
Yeah,
insane.
Yeah.
It was funny because I was having a sidebar conversation with Bob Baffert. He'll be good about conversation with text, but there was I guess a line that went out regarding horses that didn't win the Kentucky or didn't win the Triple Crown that probably were the best horses to have never won the Triple Crown. And the horse that I brought up was Point Given. And the conversation with Baffert has been very consistent with him talking about American Pharaoh and how great he truly was. We saw the short window, the Triple Crown with Justify, but I always kind of felt that Point Given was somewhere in between. But when it comes to Arrogate, I mean, he was a horse that was purely next level.
I
Uh,
remember I remember watching. I was on a bus ride from Arkansas to Oklahoma when I was playing college baseball in Oklahoma,
right?
and I remember watching the Dubai World Cup on the bus ride. I think it was like 3 in the morning in the middle of the pitch black, and I'll never forget that race. I mean, it was just an incredible, incredible race. So, well, horse between him and Zenyatta, I'm not sure who's my favorite, but it's a close battle.
Yeah, no, that's why. I mean, clearly, and obviously, you as owners, you have to really take it all in. I don't, we've owned horses that are on our own personal level, obviously as breeders as well. But the hardest thing sometimes is when you're not able to be there when they race, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you've been there for the journey since the very beginning, whether you claimed, whether you bought privately, whether you bred, whether you invested, but I have to say that from a my racehorse perspective, the owners, it's been a wonderful experience. And you talk about people from all facets of life, coming together on a given day. So hopefully, we had a little bit of a, I wouldn't call it a down year last year, but you come off the likes of a Seize the Gray and Straight No Chaser, we weren't able to come back with the encore. We had a little bit of bad luck with a couple of really nice horses that are on the road to recovery. So I'm sure in due time we'll be back where we need to be. All right, Joe. Questions continue to come in. Hannah, feel free to keep popping them up on the screen. And Brian Cook, he mentioned the Belmont opening in September. Does that factor into any future purchases? That's an interesting question.
I think absolutely. I think anytime a track estate is putting money into the sport, at the end of the day, I view that as a positive. I mean that's great for the game, um, and I'm personally excited for the renovations. I know it was a popular conversation. A lot of people were upset, and they're going to miss the old Belmont, but I don't know. For me, and the state of racing right now, I think some change is good, and something like this is exciting, fresh, going to give people a reason to come to the track, and ultimately, that's what we need. So, hopefully, that will increase our number of horses located in New York.
All right. Well, that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. They did
Yeah,
also make an announcement regarding the Preakness this year.
I did
I mean,
see that.
what's happening there at Laurel, Joe?
I got no idea.
How
I
many?
didn't
They
read
said
it.
1,800, or what is it limited to?
4,800.
4,800. They might as well just make it 1,800.
I know. I said that's our favorite part of the sale, Maryland sale.
Yeah, but it's going to be a whole different dynamic, getting up there to Laurel.
Laurel.
But in any event, bottom line is safe track. Let's hope the weather cooperates. Last year it was a little indifferent. So, all right. Well, let's move on. And again, the questions are great. It took us a little bit of while to kind of get our wheels in motion this week. But you're watching My Racehorse Live here on a Winning Wednesday. We're going to try and concentrate these shows on a Wednesday, potentially, bi-weekly. Try to do it a couple times a month if we're able to, depending upon sales season. But the next subject, and I believe it was Warren Rudman, pointed out the Seize the Gray foals, how great they look. Speaking of Arrogate and Sintra, well, that was some great news with her
Yep.
and a new baby. Baby pictures are, when it comes to any facet of life, are far and away the best.
Yeah, I know. And then Nicole of December Farm, who we used this year for the first time, has been tremendous for the content purposes, as well as just the work that she does overall, taking care of the horses. But I can see the excitement from the owners, from whether it's Facebook or just down at the showcase, everyone's excitement of them. And we have community of Justice Foal, who's a little more recent, but he's a big boy for sure. But as much as the owners are excited, I think we're just as excited. It's fun for us, right, to see the babies and kind of be on the journey from day one, and makes it even better too that we're supporting a stallion that we campaign, that we bought as a yearling, and is now standing at stud, which I think is extra special. And not only the Seize the Gray babies, but hopefully next year we'll be having Straight No Chaser babies. So it's been a really fun product. I think the owners have been super excited. And I hope you guys are all enjoying the experience. We tried to up our game this year in this package of updates in the process, step by step from everything. So a big thank you to all the farms that really allow that to happen and allow us to provide that.
Yeah, this is
And
I
that
can
that
watch this
video,
on a loop
Sintra
all
was
day,
we
right?
already were able to have a visit for owners. So some owners already were able to go to the farm. We're gonna have plenty more. So I know people are emailing in like crazy, but we will consistently offer them. So just stay on the lookout. As soon as we get another event planned, we'll have it up on the app, and we're gonna try to do them hopefully once or twice a month. That's going to be kind of the goal. So just be on the lookout, and we're going to do the best we can to accommodate as many people.
All right. We'll keep you posted on that. And Full Watch is exciting. I mean, I think now that Florida is on the up and up, or Kentucky and Florida for weather purposes. I mean, I looked at the weather in Florida next week. It was supposed to be in the kind of the low 80s. So hopefully we're in Kentucky. They're getting through weather season. A big thank you to the farms and their personnel and the employees that have been so accommodating in this process. It's not easy. Clearly, and not it's not a guarantee, right? When you've got a mare in foal, situations come up, and it can be quite a kind of a scary scenario when you have a mare foal that perhaps would be in trouble there. But yeah, thank you, Warren. And yeah, I mean, in regards to Seize the Gray, you think of Straight No Chaser. Speaking of Straight No Chaser, how is he coming along in regard to numbers as far as mare covers? Do we have any kind of a number on that yet?
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago, but they were surpassing the 75 mark. The goal of 125 for him year one, which is kind of comparable to like Dr. Shibble, who was a very comparable horse going to stud, being a sprinter and everything like that. So that's the kind of goal for him. Naturally, Sees the Gray kind of cooled off year two. He also had an extraordinary year one. So that's great. This question just coming in. I have them written down somewhere. Let me see if it's on this page. Okay, I actually, thank goodness I had this prepared. So Lazara, this is just a question, Nick, on due dates and future ones coming. Lazara, she had a April 6th cover date. Nicole's thinking she's going to be a little early. She thinks she's the next one. Could be as soon as later this week. The weather turned good for a few days. Then we got a little more snow there, and that affects. We saw Sintra, how delayed she was. It's pretty fascinating how these horses do that, and they try to hold off for the better weather. So Lazara, we think is next. Littlest Warrior, she actually has an April 1st cover a few days before Lazara, but we're thinking Lazara will be before her. So that's going to come quickly here. I mean, we are hopefully we'll have two more on the grounds very shortly. Unfortunately, Joke Cece aborted, after the November sale, so that's a bummer. But she's getting ready to be bred back to Yalpon. I think they're expecting her potentially this weekend to go in to get covered, so that's exciting news. And then Tiffany's Mo, she did not get in full last year to Seize the Gray. And then she's going to be going to Locked at Gainesway. So we're hoping that will happen here very shortly. Nikki, mute. We
That's a
were
wonderful
almost perfect this time.
I was so caught into your
Yeah,
into your speech there. I think
exactly.
it's wonderful. Kind of tough to keep. I mean, tough to keep track of. I mean, obviously, as they evolve here, and then they go into the next phase of their youth, it makes it even more exciting, but yet can be quite complicated. Billy Sue, big thank you for those kind words as well. The babies, yeah, I think as we've kind of evolved in My Racehorse. I mean, we've been doing this for what 8 years essentially now. The broodmare aspect of it, I think, was a nice kind of a graduate level, if you will.
Yeah.
We haven't really done a whole lot with weanling purchases at sales, which if you think the yearling sales are a crystal ball, then weanling sales, they tend to be like lottery tickets.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can explain it.
Yep. I can't disagree with you.
Real quick, wanted to kind of phase back to Joanna Johnson had asked a question of how many Seize the Gray foals have been born yet. Do you have any kind of a number on that?
I don't. I know of 5, but I know there's been more than 5 born. But
Right.
I know between the two of ours, the first foal that was publicized, and then we had 2 acquaintances that we knew of that had Seize the Gray babies. So So I'm sure there's plenty more that have been born. And Gainesway, they did a great job providing some big mares that were bred to him and everything like that. So I'm sure we'll get more details, but I don't have an exact number at this point.
Yeah, I think Sintra, the fact that she was a maiden mare, I mean, she's been like a consummate pro in this process.
And she's been a great mom. That was the first thing Nicole had sent me when I think I got the text at 1:30 my time that she had folded out, and the message to it was she's a great mom and she's handled everything very well.
Love it. All right, so that is an update on the mare and babies. Appreciate that. Thank you to those who have inquired, and hopefully we'll have more content going for you, in future shows. Clearly, the more, the merrier. And Joe, as you mentioned, kind of a meet and greet for the owners to have that opportunity to go to these farms, and just kind of going through some of the messages. I mean, I can't necessarily say that they're all rosy, right? I mean, clearly there are those out there that they have been ultimately satisfied with the process, and there was one individual whose racing luck has been, very little. And, all I can say to that particular individual, I mean, this program, owning racehorses, there are no guarantees to it whatsoever. And as much as you think you're playing the numbers game, at the end of the day, you have to make it work for you. And, there is an aspect to owning horses. It is like gambling, but the reality is it's like, if you're going to go with a group of friends on a vacation somewhere, whether you go to Vegas or you go somewhere, got to take those memories with you. And that's why I'm saying it. This is all about the experiential aspect of horse ownership. This isn't just about X's and O's. Now, sure, you can come and invest. You can invest, multiple commas into this process, but there's also the luck factor. Sometimes things just don't work out. And it's unfortunate because clearly we want it to work out for everyone. But above all, our job is to try and go out, find the best horses, spending the least amount of money, and try and create expectations that are within reach. I mean, you put the idea of a Seize the Gray and Straight No Chase. I'm going to give you those two examples. They were modest purchases when it comes to the sales ring. Yeah. Far and away, we spent multiple dollars exponentially above on other horses that never worked out. So sometimes you catch the perfect storm. And unfortunately, it doesn't always work out. But a big thank you to that individual, and totally understand where you're coming from. All right, well, let's kind of move on. We're going to talk about the upcoming runners. And,
we got one question on the screen for you first.
Yeah.
You want me to cover it?
You cover it.
Okay, perfect. So this is about Caldera, his works, timeline, any idea what track he'll run at? Common question at the showcase. Good question. Working very well, progressing. We had that one little blip that just had to delay a few days from works, but nothing major. If I had a crystal ball and said timeline, I think April's going to be his timeline. And I know there was a thread on Facebook that talked about him running at Keeneland potentially from me. I know that was a common question at the showcase. So I think that was misinterpreted a little bit. I said he could be a logical horse that could move to Keeneland at some point because Safi has a string there. But I don't think that's like a guarantee by any means, right? I mean, a lot of these times we'll run horses out of their own stall, even though he's at Palm Meadows. Safi's main base is Gulfstream Park for the majority of the year. So I think between those two places, that would be the logical spot for him to make that comeback. But I think it's April, and I think a big part of that is he's a big two-turn horse. I don't think we'll run him 6 furlongs by any means on a comeback in an allowance race, right? Because the great thing about him is he's got every condition in the world outside of his maiden condition. So we'll have plenty of race options where we come back specifically, whether it's 6.5, whether it's 7/8, whether it's a 1-turn mile at Gulfstream that they offer. All those things will come into the factor of the exact timeline, meaning how much fitness we'll need to be ready. But my guess is that will be sometime in April.
All right, that's good news, and certainly a horse that he's going to be carrying a flagship, essentially with the upside potential. I mean, it's the handicap division this year. I think you would tend to agree with me, Joe, this could be the most difficult, the heaviest handicap division that we've seen in years.
Yeah, and I think
And
it's great, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
this is what you want. We've kind of it's funny because I thought there was a lot of negativity on the Pegasus in the field for the Pegasus. I thought I saw a lot of negativity on social media and that, what kind of race is this? And I'm like, well, this at the end of the day is what the biggest complaint in racing of late is horses retiring at 3 and that we don't have
yeah,
these older horses. So now to
yep,
have a full field in the Pegasus, and if naturally there's going to be a few horses taking a shot above their head for the purse money.
yeah,
I don't know. I thought it was a great race, and to have Skippy Longstocking kind of have his day to shine after, I mean, just being the hard knocker, right? I mean, we kind of use that as a comparison to Caldera of like why we chose Safi Joseph and the job that he did with him of managing him.
hmm
Um, it gives you so many options. So I don't know. I thought it was great for racing. I thought it ended up being a very solid race. So it's interesting, but the handicap division as a whole, I think it's up for the taking for someone to be that established horse. But I think it's great when horses trade punches and it's not the same horse winning all the time. I mean, it takes the fun away from it when it's the same horse winning all the time. I get the Triple Crown, and we want to see that for the sport of excitement. But I think as they become older, you like seeing new horses surface.
yeah. I'm with you 100%. All right, let's get into runners for
Yep.
the week, and we've got a pair. You touched on Money Problem in Friday, race number 5 at Gulfstream Park. He will be debuting for Mike Trombetta. Money Problem, who, of course, was originally trained by the late D. Wayne Lucas. It's taken him a little time to get to the races. He'll be a debuting 3-year-old. But as far as the race is concerned, as you pointed out, on paper, for those horses who have raced, it doesn't seem as if it's that deep of a race. But the expectation of a first-time starter is always got to be a bit guarded.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's why we know this horse breezed very well over the synthetic one time at Gulfstream. So that kind of gave them the indication he really liked it.
Right.
Saying that, he's still going to have to step on the turf for the first time. So there's a lot of new things that are going to be happening to him on debut. Saying that he's a big horse, naturally, he looks like a two-turner. So the distance doesn't concern me, but it's a matter of this horse really came in from Highlander. It's at 5 half miles, 2 5/8, hasn't missed a beat, which is amazing. But at the same time, it's asking a lot to go a mile on debut, but this is where the Trombetta team thinks that he has the best starting spot and is going to be the best for his future. So, like you said, there's no real standout. Obviously, the Rail, who's also a first-time starter out of the mare New Money Honey, who we know was a sensational racehorse on the turf, has all the right to be a very good horse. But I think none of the horses that have run before are standouts, and a lot can improve off their debut, but there's no lock by any means.
Yeah, and obviously the question of racing a horse first time distance, how difficult is that? I think the makeup version and being able to get the distance with a first time starter is the fact that we're on the turf course, and I'll have to double check the weather, but I would imagine that the weather will be complimentary if it came off. We'd be in a situation where it would be, and this is a good question. Buick's is full of information on the question aspect of it. But I'm going to leave this one to you, Joe, in regard to that. But
I'm going to just kind of read it. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to reiterate kind of what I said. They breezed him over the synthetic, the Tapeta, which is a artificial surface, and it tends to replicate the turf a little bit more than the dirt.
Right.
And they were very pleased with how he breezed over that. Ruiz, who's going to be aboard him, Georgie said, he feels like a turf horse. So all the indications from the people that have been on him, their exercise in the morning said this. The problem at Gulfstream, if it was a 6 furlong or 6.5 main special weight sprinting on the turf, I think we'd maybe start him sprinting. But given that 5/8 configuration at Gulfstream, those sprint races, a lot of those races are won at the break. They're run very quickly early. He's a big two-turn looking horse. So, I mean, this is a logical thing given that we're starting on the turf.
Oh, I agree. I mean, not to mention the mother. She broke her maiden career start number 5,
Yep.
going 7/8 to a mile. I mean, he looks like a horse that carry a little more condition, but I'm a big fan of trying a horse a distance on turf first time out if they have the pedigree for it. And one thing that we've come to find in regard to the Munnings progeny. They can pretty much run on anything,
Yeah.
but I've seen them excel on turf. But
Sure.
I don't think, regardless of how he runs this week, I don't think it's all right. Wow, we either got. I mean, look, if he goes out and wins by 5, then I think we're dreaming, right? But
Yeah, I think we'll be happy.
if he gets beat 10 lengths, again, it all depends on the trip that he gets and what exactly he does, in the grand scheme of things. But it's all about experience, and I don't think it's fair to the trainer. And although Mike Trombetta can get him ready to run early, I don't think it's fair to have that kind of pressure. I think I'm just elated to see him in. And kudos to Highlander for getting that foundation into him. And let's anytime you can look at a work tab, Joe, and you see straight 7s every 7 days, that's not knock on wood, that's a positive sign. So,
yeah, it's a great sign.
Yeah. So for those that are in Florida, or you have the opportunity to get down there, check it out. No better thing than a first timer. It'll be interesting to see how he plays out. So that 2:20 Eastern, 5th race at Gulfstream on Friday, February 27th. Jorge Ruiz, Mike Trombetta, 8-1 morning line. All right, let's talk about the other, and you can touch on the Sam Houston Racing Club. And a big thank you to Mindy Willis, so accommodating with on the Thursday side. This horse will be making his second lifetime start. He's entered the race on Sunday, and a maiden special weight for the Texas bred variety. He's by Stay Thirsty, who stands right here in Southern California. Coming out of a quality debut, I thought, back on January 2nd, he was acquisitioned by MyRacehorse in lieu working with the Sam Houston Racing Club, and blinkers will go on. Tell us a little bit about the process.
Yeah, so this was our launch of the racing clubs, and hopefully the first of many, but this will be a great trial. So the horse in particular, we were looking for a young horse that had all of his conditions that could kind of run through the ranks, and this was kind of a perfect example, and a horse that we thought was going to get better with time and with racing, potentially with distance. He's a big, good-looking horse, and I think in that replay, he really didn't get running till the later stages, kind of ran in spots, hence the blinkers being added. So I think there's a lot of positives. I think he's one of the few horses in the race that will actually benefit from the added ground, where I think it might hurt some of the other ones in the race. So nonetheless, only career start. Number 2, he's had a little break in between races, which was intentional because we bought into him and getting this product launched. So, if he ends up needing a little bit of a reminder, it wouldn't shock me, but at the same time, with those blinkers added, the way he popped out of the gate the other day, I'm hoping for, an exciting and hopefully a winning start number 2 for us. It'd be a great way to launch the product.
Yeah, undoubtedly. And, we've come to find, with that sire Orb, he is on the dam side of things and is a broodmare sire. He's actually done okay. Orb was a Malibu Moon, ironically, money problem out of a Malibu Moon mare, which traces back to the AP Indy line, which you can't get much better than that. So he has been dispatched at 9-2 on the morning line, and just kind of going through the field. I asked Mindy, obviously she's been great with her communication with us, but I asked her the other day, I said, what do you think? She goes, I entered him, didn't I? And I'm like, okay. Sounds good. So it's a positive, right? I mean, clearly the horse that he beat last out is back in here. Texas Hunk, Texas Hunk came back, came out of a race in which the winner was a key next out winner, then showed speed in the subsequent start. So, yeah, you would expect that with a young horse like this, with a 3-year-old, newly turned 3-year-old, that they should move forward in their second lifetime start, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So that will take place on Sunday at Sam Houston. And
I'll just touch on one more thing, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I know we have a big kind of weekend plan for on the Thirsty side owners. So, there's going to be an event on Friday, heading to the barn. I think we'll have Mindy Willis on a live to talk about him, as not a live, but a recorded thing to talk about the race and upcoming race. And then we have an event planned for race day as well to kind of launch the party in Sam Houston. Brian Pettigrew of Sam Houston's been tremendous to kind of roll out the red carpet for us. So we're super excited. And like I said, I'm fingers are crossed for a fun little introduction to the program on Sunday.
All right. At 298-1772, can my racehorse owners visit Highland Training Center, Joe?
Yep. We're hoping to have another visit added soon. We had a handful of them through the end of the year before the horses went on their break. So we're hoping to get a few up there prior to their departure.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that.
Yep.
Indeed, as far as the updates. Also, as far as a day to remember, Joe, he's going to try and put an exclamation point on the week.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great new addition on Sunday. So
Yeah.
we've been waiting for that race to go. We were potentially thinking about turning him back a little bit quick and running him on the dirt. It's something that we've been looking to do. And I think I saw a question there. So as kind of we said in our updates, it's definitely in the plan, but unfortunately running here is better than sitting in the barn, and he's doing good right now. And he's been a horse that's, unfortunately had his blips in the road. Mark Dosh, we appreciate you. You're the best.
Sometimes.
But back to the day to remember. This is the race that's here. The dirt race didn't go. Second off, a little bit of a freshening, so he should naturally improve. He's a horse that works good all the time. But to go on that, we thought he was working well going into his debut as well on the dirt, and he ran well. But it's kind of similar overall. His running styles have been kind of the same, so we just need him to kind of break through again.
So that race is Sunday, the 5th on the card to kick off the month of March. Starter optional for horses which are started for 50 or less. Not in for the tag. I'll take that as a positive, Joe. 6.5 on the turf here. Not in for the $50,000 tag. Clearly doing well.
Absolutely. And I think this is a great education moment, right, for our owners. I know many people don't like claiming races, right? But this is a crucial part of American racing. And unfortunately, we need our horses to run where they can be competitive and win. And when this happens, we now not only opened up this starter allowance by not winning the other day, we were able to run back protected, but now we can also run back in a starter non-winners of 3 after this. It's just going to be a lighter competition than a 1X, an open 1X, and open up conditions. So sometimes you got to play that game, right, and take chances. I will say as a whole, of horses that we've lost via claim, we have got burned very, very little to it. And, we're not running horses for tags because we want someone else to claim them and have success. So, I just think we take this very seriously, and where we spot our horses, whether it's, simple as the daily racing form, the visual of them, rags and thoroughgraphs, like we are doing all the work to make sure our horses are spotted correctly.
Yeah. Well, get locked in there for Sunday. That race will take place at approximately 2:30 Pacific. So that'll be the kind of that, as I was saying, the exclamation point, but yet the first step back in the month of March, kind of kick things off. He is drawn in postage number 6 of 8, race 5, and Abel Lascano back in the irons. And on that note, our condolences to our good friend and trainer Mark Glatt. Unfortunately, as it was announced that he did lose his wife, his soulmate, Dina Glatt, and later in the month of March, they'll have a celebration of life. Truly a wonderful woman, and our hearts are heavy indeed over this past week, Joe.
Yeah, a family that I've known my entire life, so it was very tough, but he's got a good group of people behind him. And as we always say, horses are the best therapy in the world. And I know those will certainly carry him through this hard time.
Quick update here on Native Brew. I know that you and I talked about that in our post-production last time.
Yeah.
When will he get back to Steve? This is from DM5ERGFH842.
Thanks for reading all of that. I appreciate it. So we obviously had to stop and slow things down. He's been back galloping since February 3rd. As of February 17th, he's progressed his gallops to 2 laps versus 1, 2 times around the track, just building not only the lung capacity, but the foundation in them as well. So I would say he's not far away from his first breeze. And hopefully after that, we'll get him back to the racetrack. So I don't want to put a timeline on it since it's been longer than we expected, but we are making good progress.
All right. Thank you, Nikki. Indeed, excited about Thursday and hopefully the events carrying forward there with LSP. I wanted to just quickly mention that Glenn Muse had said he'd love to see Caldera at Charlestown for the Charlestown Classic. I mean, that's not without reason.
That's
I
the
mean, the one
that's
thing
the
I'll
point.
say, though, with his stride, I mean, it's probably as long as the stretch there at Charlestown.
Yeah, that turn might be a little tight for him, but I think this is the funnest part with older horses is that they change so much, and he was such a goofball. He just did it off all talent early on. And if you told me he ran that many times at 3, I would have kind of said,
Right.
I think you're crazy from the time we bought him. So he's an overachiever at the end of the day, and I just think now he's kind of really filling into his own right and has all the right in the world to be a big horse.
Yeah. I mean, he's an overachiever with the right to be any kind.
I got to
I
turn
like
on a
that.
light real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. It's getting dark over there, Joe.
I know, geez, the sun went down. I said, "Oh boy, I didn't turn on the light."
I thought those solar panels might have been given out on you. Real quick, Warren had a couple of messages here. We're going to move on to a Mystical Bell. He had pointed out when the time's right, can we do a jockey goggles on a piece on Puka? Is that possible?
I think
Jockey
it's
goggles. You remember that, right?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that would be great. I mean, we've been lucky to Leslie, who some of you met at the showcase, who has done some videos with the GoPro on him and is training at Ian Brennan's training center down in Ocala, Florida. But I'm sure if Jockey Goggles allows it, he's going to be a likely candidate to have the Jockey Goggles put on him in a race.
Yeah, that'll be exciting to see indeed,
Yeah.
especially if things work out with Puka. A lot of pressure on that guy. I gotta say, there's a lot of pressure, but folks, just let the cards play out. Shout out to Jorge Jimenez here in Inglewood, California, my friend. Best wishes to your wife on the road to recovery, and certainly appreciate your support as well. All right, let's move on to big weekend coming up. Right, big weekend, bigger results. My racehorse. Who came up with that, Joe? Mystical Bell. It's good to see her on the stretch here. What is her potential next target?
Yeah, so we're looking at the Melody of Colors on March 22nd at Gulfstream. That was kind of the plan from the get-go. I mean, I think even before she won her second race, Safi kind of said, "I can't wait to see her on the turf. I can't wait to see her on the turf." At that time, there was no turf races that fit her at that point. I thought her most recent work was a nice pickup. Just her first work back after having a freshening. She's only going to need to be 5 furlong fit for this race. She didn't have to do much, and it was a good refresher. First work back was kind of easy, and now Safi's kind of tightening the screws a little bit and getting her ready. But I thought she was traveling great this past weekend. Um, uh, you know, she's not a horse that's probably going to run a mile and a 16th, but I think sky's the limits in terms of what she can do sprinting.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that as soon as if you have the capability of getting some black type, I mean that's where you start building that residual. I mean
Yeah.
that's a great goal to set early in the year when these horses turn 3. I mean, clearly, when it comes to sales, right? I mean, if you get a colt that takes place, they better have a deep pedigree if you think you're going to make a stallion out of them. Clearly, a horse like Straight No Chaser needed to do what he did in order to become a stallion at Windstar Farm, but he did it, and that's a great thing. All right, so that's good news with her, and I know that we've had multiple questions in regards to Baccio for Wesley Ward. I know Topline, our partner there, the Gladwells, Tori obviously has been very informative with us as well. So Baccio for Wesley Ward has not raced since that resounding victory post Breeders' Cup. It was one of the most emphatic wins that we've had on our docket.
Yep.
Been a few months, but how's he doing?
Doing great. Been breezing there in Ocala, Florida. We know he's fast, so I don't think we needed a work video to tell us that. But just shipped back to Payson Park to Wesley Ward. I know Wesley had mentioned the Texas Glitter, which is the same weekend on Saturday, the 5 furlong version, the boys' version of the race for Mystical Bell. I think being realistic as much as I enjoy it, that we have something to look forward to. looking at the timetable, today's February 25th. He just got in there. If he hops on the work tab here on Saturday, that would only give him 3 works at the track to be ready for that race. So we're just going to have to listen to the horse. Nonetheless, there's a huge season ahead for this horse. So
Absolutely.
we want him to be ready to rock and roll for all the big punches. And not to say that the Texas Glitter isn't a big race, but I think there's bigger in store for him, even if he isn't ready by this. So we just got to see how he handles each work ahead of him. And then he'll tell us when he's ready to run.
Yeah, that's it's exciting. Knowing that he got the proper time off, and with Keeneland around the corner, Keeneland's going to offer up some big purses this year. And I do think he's a type of horse that can do both. I don't know. Do you have what Bacio's highest buyer was?
Yes,
offhand?
I do. Yes,
Okay.
I do. It's loading.
Thank you,
loading.
Joanna, for sending the messages in. I'm going to come back to what is it?
87. He went
87.
from 67 on debut, where he won at Monmouth, 72 in the Speakeasy, 87 in that third start at Del Mar.
Nice progression. Thank you for that. Hannah, can you dig into the archives? We're going to close out here. We still have some questions, commentary, if you will, in regard to, I think the question here was as far as where we were. Oh, the question was on a day to remember. And this is a good one for you, Joe, because we've had a horse here that has been pretty much all turf in his starts. For a horse that is trained as well as he has on the dirt, why wouldn't we consider running him on the dirt?
Yeah, I thought I tried tying this into my answer when we were talking about the race. So we were trying to wheel him back on short rest in the dirt version of this starter allowance. That unfortunately didn't go. So rather than sitting in the barn for potentially another month and that dirt race not going, he's ready to run. He's training well. He broke his maiden special weight on the turf. There's no reason he can't win this race on the turf. But the dirt is in our back pocket and not something that we're going to be afraid of trying again.
All right, Glenn had another question. Hannah, if you could pull that up for us, making Hannah work overtime today. By the way, Hannah celebrating her, am I allowed to say this, her 29th, it's her 30th birthday. So happy birthday, Hannah. I like to call her Hannah Boom because
Hannah Boom.
She comes with the work each and every time. But onward and upward, Hannah. The blessings are with you. All right, Glenn. Good question here. We obviously are keeping updated on Reputation. When will she be back in training? Obviously, we're giving her some extra time.
Yeah. She was at the showcase as well, so got to see her last week, 2 weeks ago. Looks tremendous. I mean, this is where we very rarely say a break didn't do good for a horse. I mean, I think she put on weight. She looks tremendous. So I would say by March 1st, she's going to be starting back up in training. Obviously, she's been out for some time now that she's going to need some foundation to get back going. But hopefully we'll see her back on the races. Let's just say summer to be safe. But I think plenty of life left in her. I think this break is going to do her a world of good, similar to Caldera. Horses that put in heck of campaigns. She's got the credentials. That's the wonderful thing about having a filly that becomes a stake winner. They never lose their value. But hopefully we can achieve more. She's graded stakes place, but let's hope we can get a graded stakes win in 2026.
From Mark Nielsen, 8829. I think the updates went out on Black Tie Optional.
Yep.
I'll actually be visiting him on Friday there at Los Alamitos. And I did see the other question that came in on Steal the Moment, if potentially she could be a Kentucky Oaks horse. I'm not for certain that would be a possibility based on the timeline. It would take a miracle. Pretty much she's doing very well. But as far as Black Tie Optional, we had some funky weather out here in California, so we did have a setback. And one thing about Los Alamitos, and I know this is your question, Joe, but we weren't able to really do a whole lot of training outside of what they do in the shed row.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's California, but we've had a wet winter this year. I know a lot of other places are a lot worse than us, and we're very lucky. But it's been a wet winter, and we've lost a lot of time of consistently training. And when these horses are getting fit, when you miss a work and you can't gallop on a daily basis, it really does set you back. So as we said in our kind of the last time I was out there, and to me, it was the first time I said, okay, she's starting to figure it out. And I think it was her second or third half mile. Mike's very happy, Mike Marlowe, assistant trainer. And he said, I think his quote was, I'm just waiting for her one day to be dragging down that rider down the stretch, and then I'm going to know she's ready, and then I'm going to really push on. So she's going to keep kind of breezing those steady halves, building that foundation, really putting it all together.
Yeah, I think, kind of on that note with Steal the Moment, when we had purchased her in June, right? It was at the time, she was still pretty raw. And I remember the consignor had mentioned that, it was almost when they had decided to take her to the ring, clearly she had plenty of value based on the residual.
Yeah.
It was, she really hadn't had that many reps in. So clearly we bought her with the idea of kind of letting her decompress a little bit from a mental standpoint, allowing her to grow up. I think the timing of getting her back is going to be quite positive, and it could prove to be lucrative. I mean, let's face it, folks. I mean, as good as Gunrunner is, think about his best horses. Yeah, they run it too, and he's got horses on the Derby Trail, but the reality is they only get better with age. And you've got a filly like this, we appreciate Bob Baffert and Mike Marlowe with being handling her with kid gloves. Just kind of bring her along. Black Tie Optional, we're kind of caught in a rock and a hard place. He had the setback, but he's so far down the line fitness wise. You gotta just allow him to kind of get over it.
Absolutely.
Trust but verify. I want to try the next time. I want to try and get some content on him. I know that he's a major horse of interest with the partners. How's he behaving, Joe?
All reports are better. I think he's a horse that you're never going to be able to take that enthusiasm he has when he trains out of him. But I know we posted an update today that we got some good feedback from Greg, who's kind of running the show at Fairgrounds right now and gets on him as well. So giving us that real feedback of being on him, and said, he's still tough and wants to pull a little bit, but now he's starting to drop his head and grow up. But at this point, he's only breezed twice since being back. We still got a little ways to go. But knocking on wood, he's where we were hoping that time, and that mental refresher, that time off, as we subsequently found, that little thing on his tendon that needed some time. But we were originally only giving him time for a mental refresher to try to reset him, bring him back as a new horse. And I think that we accomplished that.
Yeah, well, kudos to Kenny McPeak. Yeah. And, in regard to instant impact, hopefully the time will help and heal in regards to his situation. I mean, we talked about those are two horses in particular that we thought could be, Derby-esque contenders. It's just the unfortunate aspect of it. I mean, you can liken it to any other sport, basketball, football, baseball, hockey, for example. And kudos to the Team USA hockey team for bringing home the gold in the women as well.
Absolutely.
What a tremendous closeout. But I think we covered it, Joe.
I mean, we covered a lot of questions. You were rapid firing them, so I think we did. I will say, I just saw Paul, you might have just joined, but Mystical Bell, yes, on track for March 22nd. We did a little piece on there, which you can go back and watch on Mystical Bell, but we're on schedule there. And I don't think we missed everything else. Black Tie Optional we covered. My Eyes on You, that was one. He just got back on the work tab of Richard. So we still got a little bit of time for him. So we missed some time from the rain. He got a little sick. During that time, he popped a quarter crack, which actually, while it sounds like a negative, we think it was a positive. He was a horse that was kind of, his feet were bugging him a little bit. So we think that will resolve it. First work back visually wasn't the best, but he's getting back into the swing of things. I don't think he'll be far away from a fitness standpoint. So hopefully by April, we'll see him in the starting gate.
All right, Joe. Well, next week we'll be off to Ocala on the 3rd for the preview, which begins on the 4th. The sale will be the following week. We'll be back the night of the 12th. We'll have a discussion whether or not we want to have a show from there, but I would have to imagine that our next show would be March 18th, if that makes any sense. We'll get together with Hannah. And again, big thank you to the birthday girl and all of those who have participated today. And, if you have friends that are involved with My Racehorse or not, and they kind of want to kind of know about the program and listen in. I mean, clearly this whole process is interactive. I mean,
For sure.
the idea for us is to make it the best experience. And again, feel free to forward those ideas that you might have. More content. Can you bring Johnny V? Can you bring trainer, Steve Asmussen on? Won't be easy, but I can assure you that we'll.
I was going to tell you, take it easy here.
Okay.
We're just getting back into the groove. We're getting.
I got you. Well, again, we have to essentially bring kind of put this in about an hour and 15 minutes, and we did well today. But Joe, as always, my friend, you're a gentleman and a scholar. Appreciate the work you do, and again, thank you to all of those who helped at the OBS showcase, and we certainly appreciate our team members as well. Look forward to seeing you. Look forward to seeing you at the races, folks. Big week indeed. Big weekends, big results. My Racehorse. This is Nick Hines saying, until next time, on behalf of Joe Moran and Hannah Bloom, we'll see you in the winter circle.